there. So anyway, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore City's November 4th virtual hearing of November 2021. My name is Nicholas Blendy. I am the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners. If you take a look at the screen, go over an outline of how things are going to go today, you can see all of the matters I'm about to cover on the screen, and I will start with the introduction to the Webex platform. Cisco Webex is the online meeting platform that the City of Baltimore uses to conduct all of its virtual meetings. The Board of Estimates, the Baltimore City Council, and the Planning Department have used Webex to hold virtual meetings since the outbreak of COVID-19. Some basics of Cisco Webex. In order to fully utilize the system, members of the general public should have access to a laptop, iPad, smartphone, or similar device with camera and microphone capabilities. If your electronic device does not have microphone capabilities, then you will need to use the phone number below provided to dial in. In order to participate in the Webex meeting, members of the public will have to download the app through their smartphone or click on the following link that you can see on the screen to access today's hearing online, the access code of 2331-266-8839 and a password of BLLC1234. The BLLC suggests that if you are going to use your smartphone, iPad, or similar device, that you download the application at least one day before the date of the 11/4/2021 hearing in order to ensure you have access to the program. If a member of the general public does not have access to a computer, a smartphone, or a similar device, they can call the number below and use the following access code to listen only to today's hearing. And that number is 408-418-9388. Access code is 2331-266-8839. Moving on, all materials, evidence, and related items for today's docket can be found on our website. Copies of the short docket, which provide a brief description of the cases before the board, and the long docket, which include all application materials, can be found on our website under hyperlinks for November 4th, 2021. You can see the web link on the screen. For virtual hearings, we at the board observe a 48-hour rule for evidence. All evidence to be considered by the board can be found in the long docket, and the board will continue accepting evidence from any party up until 11 a.m. 2 days ago, Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021. As always, all evidence should be submitted via email to the board's Assistant Executive Secretary, Ms. Stacy Russell. Related items, an evidence note, licensees should make all efforts to provide any documentation they plan to submit to the board by 11 a.m. on Tuesday, November 2nd, and any attempt to introduce evidence at the hearing not submitted prior to that deadline may lead to a postponement of your case. In addition to the posting of the 11/4/2021 docket online, licensees, witnesses, and/or their representatives shall be served and were served with notice in accordance to the law. Today's procedures for the docket begin with the preliminary reading of instructions and the calling of cases. I, the Deputy Executive Secretary, will read the preliminary instructions and general ground rules for today's hearing process. I shall then call each case in the order listed on the short docket. The board chairman will then ask the licensee, his or her representative, and all BLC and police department personnel to identify themselves and to be sworn in by the court reporter. There will then be an evidentiary hearing conducted. I will then call the case and the board will conduct the evidentiary hearing, which will include calling of witnesses, hearing of testimony, and reviewing of any documents already entered into the record to determine whether or not, or to be entered into the record to determine whether or not a violation occurred. Upon conclusion of the hearing, which may include closing arguments by the licensee and/or his or her representative, the board will then vote to determine whether or not a violation did occur. If a board finds that the violation occurred, the board may hear testimony or review further evidence before imposing a sentence. The board will provide an opportunity to the general public to present testimony at the mitigation phase of the hearing, and I will then ask, when the chair asks me if an individual does like to testify, to please use the raise your hand feature within the WebEx platform, which is at the bottom right of your screen. Be recognized, identify yourself, be sworn in by the court reporter, and then testify. It's a reminder that all individuals who testify are subject to questioning by the board and cross-examination by the attorney or the applicant or the licensee. Remember, if you only have access to a phone and do not have video camera capabilities, you will not have opportunity to testify. Sentencing, once the board hears all of the evidence and testimony from the mitigation phase, the board will then make a sentencing determination, which could include a fine, a suspension, and/or a revocation of the license. Some general ground rules and helpful information for today's hearing. Ground rules, please mute yourself when you're not speaking. This is to minimize feedback and extra noise. We ask that you please identify yourself and state the spelling of your name prior to speaking. Please speak slowly and in a clear voice so that the court reporter understands exactly what is being said and who is saying it. Please note that this event will run live and is running live on Charm TV and that a court reporter is present. Any individual who uses profanity, is disrespectful, or unruly may be expelled from today's virtual hearing. All attendees, applicants, licensees, and members of the public who wish to provide testimony during today's hearings, you must be sworn in prior to testifying. Some helpful reminders to improve the experience. We ask you please be prepared. Please have read the materials ahead of time. Test your video conferencing platform as well ahead of time. We remind you that location matters. Try to find a quiet space with good light and a strong internet connection so that you can be seen and heard clearly. We ask that you please be present, not be multitasking, so that when the moment comes, you're able to participate in an orderly fashion. And finally, and above all, we ask that you please be patient with yourself and with others. This is always a, curveball here or there in the virtual hearing world. With that, Mr. Chairman, the short docket is up on the screen, and I do note that, as the chair is aware, there was a postponement granted for item number 2, Joe's Place, 16200 Reisterstown Road. Otherwise, Mr. Chair, I believe we have sufficient attendance of everyone, and if you have anything to open up with.
So let's call the first case.
Yes, sir. The first item on today's docket, licensees Herbert Belton, Walter Ingram, Timothy White, Original Gentleman 10 Incorporated, trading as Original Gentleman 10. Premises are located at 2135 East Edmondson Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21223, and the licensees hold a Class C beer, wine, and liquor license. Licensees are charged with 3 violations of the board's rules stemming from a single incident on August 6th, 2021, a violation of Rule 3.08, Sanitation and Safety, a violation of Rule 4.14, Live Entertainment Without Authorization, and a violation of Rule 4.17, Storage. The inspector who will be testifying is Inspector Tudhope, and the licensee is representing himself and has been moved in. It's Timothy White. Tim White, I believe. And have you turned your screen on, Mr. White? Down at the bottom right, Mr. White, there's a start camera feature that we need you to push.
Okay. It's on.
All right. Let me ask the reporter to swear Mr. White and Inspector Tudhope.
Okay. You would both please raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, to help you God, or under penalty of perjury? And please state your response.
Yes.
Inspector Tudhope, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So Mr. White, your license has been charged with 3 violations from August 6th. You may either admit them and then explain, or you could deny them and we'll have Inspector Tudhope testify. How do you wish to proceed?
Admit and explain.
Okay. Well, the first one is the sanitation one. The report says that there was a large dumpster overflowing and 4 garbage bags, amount of trash on the ground, etc. What was the problem there?
We had someone in the community dump their load in our trash, and it was the day of. It was having a day, and tomorrow we was planning on cleaning it up, and we actually got a second dumpster added to that area. So
So
right now
the-
we have 2 dumpsters. So we cleared the problem up, and we have 2 dumpsters right now.
So the neighbors had dumped the trash? Wasn't yours?
I don't know who dumped it because it was trash that we don't even carry. It was going like house trash and like
Okay.
TV boxes.
Okay. And what about the live entertainment? Were you aware that your license did not have authorization for that?
I wasn't aware of it. Um, People been coming in, bringing in their DJ all the time. I wasn't aware that we didn't supposed to have live entertainment.
Okay. You know that if you want to add that to your license, I don't know if a Class C license allows it, but if it does, you'd have to apply to the board to add that to the license. You understand?
I do now. Yes.
And finally, the storage. There was alcohol stored in the parking lot area outside and off the premises, and that's not permitted under our rules because that's not part of the licensed premises. Do you understand that?
Yes, I called zoning. They was doing over the pandemic. They said you can have outdoor if you get a temporary permit. And when I called zoning, they told me that it was in your parking lot. You don't have it in your parking lot. So if you go on the sidewalk, you need a temporary permit. So I didn't think I needed anything to be in the parking lot. It was actually in the private parking lot.
Okay. But do you understand now that you can't do that?
Yes.
Okay. So Inspector Tuttle, was Mr. White cooperative with you?
Yes, sir.
Do you want to add anything?
No, thank you, sir.
Okay. Do commissioners have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Okay. Do we have anyone else who wishes to testify, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. I do not see anyone who wishes to testify, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr. White, okay, on the basis of the materials that are contained in the charging documents and your testimony, which includes admissions of these violations, I find that there was a violation of Rule 3.08 on August 6, 2021, a violation of Rule 4.14 on August 6, 2021, and a violation of Rule 4.17 on August 6, 2021. I accept your explanation for most of this because you've had this license since 1985, and this is the first time you've been before us for violations, which is an excellent record. So I hope that you've learned from this and that we won't have to see you back here again. Because it's the first time and because this has been gone on so long without any trouble, I would impose nominal $50 fines as to each of the violations and give you 30 days to pay. So that's $150, Mr. White. Commissioners agree or not?
Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings of the 3 violation rules of $150 total.
Based upon the charging documents, the testimony, and the admission from Mr. White, I too find a violation of Rule 3.08 on August 6th and concur with the imposition of a $50 fine. I find a violation of Rule 4.14 on August 6, 2021, concur with the imposition of a $50 fine, and also find a violation of Rule 4.17 on August 6, 2021, and concur with the imposition of a $50 fine.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
There goes Zippers for the record. Board Exhibit 1, violation report, Inspector Tuttle.
Thank you. Mr. White, do you understand this? And we hope that this is the last time, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That concludes this hearing before the board. Licensee will receive follow-up instructions from this agency via mail on the fines imposed today, any fees that may come along with the administration of this fine process, and instructions on how to pay in accordance with the board's ruling. That concludes this matter. Then
Let's go to number 3, Mr. Blendy.
I'm sorry, sir. All
Yeah,
three, yes, all 3 violations found.
Yes.
I understand. Then with that, Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
Yes.
Well, the item number 2 was postponed. So that brings us to item number 3, who I have not seen or did not take noticed that they had counsel. Let me check very quickly. Any of the counsel on, are any of you representing this licensee, Joey B LLC? Mr. Kudensky, Mr. Herter, Mr. Soller, or Mr. Previs?
No.
No.
Mr. Kudensky, no.
Okay.
Mr. Previs, no.
Hurdle, no.
Okay.
We have representatives from the license.
I do not see that, Mr. Chair, and there was some issue on the login. So would you suggest moving forward and
Yeah, let's
returning to
pass
this?
it over, come back to it, all right?
Yes, sir. Moving forward, then, the next case before the board today is licensee Martha Y. Puryear, Special Peas LLC, trading as Special Peas Bar and Lounge. Premises are located at 2738 Baker Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21216. Licensee is charged with one violation of the board's rules stemming from an incident on August 26, 2021, violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors. This licensee is represented by counsel, Mr. Kudensky, who has been moved into the panel.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Kudensky. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
For the record, Melvin J. Kudensky, 320 North Charles Street, representing the app licensee who is seated next to me.
Will this be an admission or denial, Mr. Kudensky?
It'll be an admission.
Okay. Do you want to explain, or do you want to have him sworn?
I can explain. This was a situation where if the board is aware, this is a Class D, it's a small operation. Ms. Puryear's been running along with her son. They've been trying to get a couple things straightened out there over a period of years about the upstairs area, but that had nothing to do with minors. This is the first time since she's been a licensee in 2011 be here with any type of minor violation. She has since instructed her people to have everybody carded and the individual to have alcohol awareness training. The problem with business being so light, they have a tendency to be lax, but they understand now that's their responsibility. They have to take care of this, and if not, these consequences are being here before the board again.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioners have any questions?
No questions.
Did Commissioner Reisinger speak?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone who wishes to testify.
Okay. All right, Mr. Kudensky, then on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and your proffer, which includes the admission of the violation on behalf of your client, I find the violation of Rule 4.01 small a on August 26, 2021. That you're right, it's the first sale to minor, but there were two violations of other things in 2020. I would impose a fine of $600 and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings of Rule 4.01A, sale to minor, and the fine of $600.
Based upon the charging documents, the admission and the proffer, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A on August 26, 2021, and concur with the imposition of $600 fine.
Ms. Russell?
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Inspector Chase. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective LeBron.
Okay, thank you, and thank you, Mr. Kudensky.
All right, thank you.
That concludes this hearing before the board. Licensee will receive follow-up instructions via mail from this agency on the resolution of today's hearing, including any fines and any administrative fees that go along with those fines that will be due to the board in accordance with the board's ruling today. Mr. Chair, are we ready to move forward?
We are.
If you give me 1 second, there is one person here. Hi, good morning. Is this Ronald Cromer?
I'm going down, and
All right, we're going to move forward then. Wondering if that person was the previous case. The next matter before the board is Licensee Ruchirabahen Parika and Naima Pliva, Saruni Incorporated, trading as Fireside North, 2201 West North Avenue. Licensee holds a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license, and licensee is charged with one violation of the board's rules, violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors stemming from an incident on August 26, 2021, and licensee is represented by Mr. Priebus, who has been moved into the room.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Priebus. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Peter Priebus on behalf of the licensees. With me today, sitting next to me, if you guys can see me, is Ms. Ruchirabahen Parikh. That is Parikh. There's a typo on the docket. This will be an admission.
Okay. Do you want to proffer or do you want her to testify?
I'll be happy to proffer. When this incident occurred on August 26, 2021, there was a manager, but a somewhat new employee, Mr. Kunmar, who had waited on the cadet. Mr. Kunmar had his alcohol awareness certificate dated May 14, 2021. He advises that the cadet was a big gentleman, and he's been instructed that he's to card anyone that looks under 40. And he said it just got by him that this gentleman looked well older. I've noticed with some of my other cases in this and other jurisdictions that the masks are throwing people. I've stated in other hearings that I don't know if that's mitigation or aggravation, that because of the mask you should be all the more vigilant. But that's his honest response, that this just got by him. This place has been under this current ownership since 2018, and there were 2 violations, one for a BD7 and one for a minor, within the first few months of opening, but nothing since then. Ms. Parikh is making sure that everybody is alcohol awareness certified and reinforcing that this is not acceptable, and everyone needs to be carded.
Okay, commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have public comment, Mr. Blundy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. No, Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone who wishes to testify.
Mr. Priebus, down on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents and your proffer, including the admission of the violation on behalf of your client, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on August 26, 2021. And being a bit generous, accepting your explanation, I will impose the same sanction I did in the last case, $600 and 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings of Rule 4.01A, sales to minor, and a fine of $600.
Based upon the charging documents, the admissions, and the proffer, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A on August 26, 2021, concur with the imposition of a $600 fine.
Thank you, Ms. Russell.
Line call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Agent Chase. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective LeBron.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Priebus.
Thank you.
That concludes this hearing before the board today. Licensee will receive follow-up correspondence via U.S. mail from this agency with the findings of the violation issued by the board today, the fine imposed, and any administrative fees that come along with that, again, via U.S. mail. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to move forward?
I am.
And the next matter before the board today will be, it will look as if it is Mr. Kadensky, but on the typing, but it will be a different attorney. Licensee Rabin Silwal and Hang Yang's LLC, trading as Broadway Liquors. Premises are located at 1645 East Baltimore Street, Baltimore, Maryland 21231. Licensee holds a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license and is charged with one violation of the board's rules, a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors stemming from an incident on September 22nd, 2021. And counsel is Mr. Hurdle, who is listed under Mr. Kadensky on the screen.
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Hurdle. Would you identify yourself for the record, please?
Abraham Hurdle for Yang's LLC, trading as Broadway Liquors.
Will this be an admission or denial, Mr. Hurdle?
This is an admission.
Okay. Can you proffer?
Absolutely. This is a location that recently transferred to Mr. Robin Stilwell. He is I believe, a 50% member, and his membership, we had a hearing. It may have only been about a month and a half ago. As part of that change, several new employees were hired. One of these new employees who was filling in for Mr. Stilwell while he was out of town was the person who sold this to the cadet. That employee has since been terminated, and the shop has undergone kind of a comprehensive training program to ensure it doesn't happen again. They're in the process of speaking with the alcohol awareness people that I work with to make sure that everyone in the store has alcohol awareness training. We'd love to give those certificates over to the liquor board if that's possible. It's something that hasn't happened yet. It is being proposed and planned. We don't want this to be an indication of how things will go in the future, having just taken over at this location. The LLCs had the license for some time, but again, the licensees themselves shifted. It may have only been 2 months ago.
Okay. The commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have anyone else who wants to testify, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter, please use the raise your hand feature on the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, I do not see anyone who has raised their hand.
Thank you. Mr. Hurdle, then on the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents, in your proffer, which contained an admission of the violation on behalf of your client, I find the violation of Rule 4.01 small a on September 22, 2021. Because it is the first offense, I would impose a $500 fine and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioner?
Yes, Mr. Chair, based on testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings of Rule 4.01A, sales to minor, and the fine of $500.
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, and the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A on September 22nd, 2021, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
I'd like to call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, investigation report, Agent Chase. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department report, Detective Gatto.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdle.
Thank you, commissioners.
Oh, and Mr. Hurdle, what was the name of the person with you there?
Robin Silwall, Silwal.
Okay,
And Robin
thank
is
you.
spelled Rabin.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee will receive follow-up instructions via U.S. mail with the board's findings, the fine imposed, and any attendant administrative fees that come along with the fine. That concludes everything, Mr. Chair, on this. Are you ready to move forward?
Yes, sir.
Then moving to the last item or the final item, Watka, Pirog. I'm sorry?
Your voice is going in and out.
Let me try again. Am I coming in more clearly?
Yes.
Okay. The next item on the docket, licensee Nicholas Marshall, Daniel E. Pirog Jr., and Erica L. Watka, Pirog and Marshall, Inc., trading as Noble's Bar and Grill. Premises are located at 1024 South Charles Street, Baltimore, Maryland, 21230. Licensees hold a Class BD7 beer, wine, and liquor license and are charged with a violation of one rule of the board, Rule 4.01A, sales to minors stemming from an incident on September 22nd, 2021. Licensees are represented by Mr. Andrew Soller, and Mr. Nick Marshall is a licensee, and they have both been moved into the room, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Mr. Soller, will you identify yourself for the record, please?
Good morning, Andrew B. Saller, Salle, ER on behalf of Parag and Marshall LLC, Incorporated, excuse me.
Good morning. Will this be an admission or denial, Mr. Soller?
An admission, Your Honor.
Okay. Can you proffer what happened?
Yes, Your Honor. It was a newer bartender at the facility. He believed they were 21 years of age. They obviously were not. There's never been a violation. You'll see stemming back to 2005. And even back in July of 2018, they successfully passed an underage drinking compliance check. The bartender was cooperative. They have a policy at the establishment that anyone who serves an underage person will be terminated. They've never had to do it before, but Mr. Shriver has been terminated as a result of this. We'd respectfully ask for the mercy of the board when you consider the fact they have had no prior violations of any sort, and it's been 16 years.
Okay. Commissioners have questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
Do we have public comment, Mr. Blendy?
If any member of the public wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chair, I don't see anyone raise their hand.
Hi, Mr. Soller. On the basis of the materials contained in the charging documents in your proffer, including the admission of the violation on September 22, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a on September 22nd, 2021. Because it's a first offense for this licensee, I'd impose a $500 fine and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioners?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, based on the testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors, and the fine of $500.
Based upon the charging document, the proffer, and the admission, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A on September 22nd, 2021, and concur with the imposition of a $500 fine.
Ms. Russell?
I call exhibits for the record. Board Exhibit 1, Investigation Report, Inspector Chase. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore City Police Department Report, Detective Gatto.
Thank you. And Mr. Soller, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That concludes this matter before the board. Licensee will receive follow-up instructions via U.S. mail with the board's findings today, any fines they have imposed, and any administrative fees that go along with those fines. Mr. Chair, there is one person in the room. I'm going to, with the chair's permission, check to see if they are representing the one that we skipped over.
Yeah, let's recall that case.
All right, let me double check. Hello, is this Ronald Cromer?
Yes.
Are you here on behalf of, are you here for case number 3?
I don't know what, I don't have a case number for my.
Then thank you. If you don't have a case, no worries. Thanks.
Okay.
Let's call the case, Mr. Blendy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Case number 3 on today's docket, licensee Dana E. Evans and Jacqueline Patterson, Joey B. LLC, trading as Around the Way Liquors. Premises are located at 1801 West North Avenue, Baltimore, Maryland, 21217. Licensee holds a Class A beer, wine, and liquor license and is charged with 1 violation of the board's rules stemming from an incident on August 26, 2021. It's a violation of Rule 4.01A, sales to minors. The BLLC is represented by Agent Chase, Agent Han, and Chief Chris Amalis, and members of BPD Vice and the.
Well, first, let me ask Ms. Russell, do we have service on the licensee?
Ms. Russell?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Do you have a date on that?
The date is October 23rd.
Thank you. Okay. And we have no one here on behalf of Joey B?
I do not see anyone left in the room other than that one individual who said he was here for nothing else, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Who would testify on behalf of the board?
Agent Chase, Agent Han, or Chief Chris Amalis? Probably Agent Chase, Mr. Chair.
All right, let's swear the agent in.
All right, Agent Chase, if you can just turn on your video.
We're having.
Agent Chase.
Chief, you wanna?
Yeah, let me get her into my office and she can do it from here. Hold on one second.
Okay. No, there.
Oh, wait. Okay.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or under penalty of perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Agent Chase. Can you tell us what happened at
Good morning.
1801 North Avenue on August 26th?
Yes. On August the 26th, 2021, at approximately 10:15 p.m., Agent Chase, Agent Hahn, Chief Christamella, and the Police Vice Unit, and Cadet Jackson conducted an underage operation at Around the Way Liquors located at 1801 West North Avenue. Cadet Jackson, whom is under 21 and working in an underage capacity, entered the establishment and purchased a 24-ounce Bud Light priced at $1.65 from the server. Cadet Jackson paid with a departmental $20 bill. Cadet Jackson exited the establishment and notified everyone of the alcoholic purchase. The server never asked for proof of ID from Cadet Jackson or his age. Minutes later, the police vice unit, Agent Chase, Agent Hahn, and Chief Christamella entered the establishment and identified the server as James Frederick Sini, date of birth 5/11/1972. Detective Greenhill informed Mr. Sini that alcohol was sold to an underage police cadet. He was cooperative. The vice unit recovered the departmental 20 and change from the bar, and the 24-ounce Bud Light was photographed and returned to the bar. Detective Greenhill and Detective Gatto advised Mr. Sini that he would not be charged criminally, but a report would be written for a violation.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions for the agent?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
No questions.
And
Mr. Blenny, do we have anyone else who wants to testify on this case?
if there's any member of the public who wishes to testify on this matter before the board, please use the raise your hand feature in the Webex platform. Mr. Chairman, I don't see anyone who's raised their hands, and I do note that the cadet and the detective are both here if the board wishes to hear from them.
I think I'm satisfied. So on the basis of the materials contained in the charging document and the testimony of Agent Chase, I find a violation of Rule 4.01 small a, sales to minors on August 26, 2021. They were cooperative with her. They do have one prior sale to minor, but and I don't know why they're not present, but I would impose a $600 fine and give them 30 days to pay. Commissioner?
Mr. Chair, based on the testimony provided today, I agree with the chair's findings of Rule 4.01A, sales to minor, and the fine of $600.
Based upon the charging document, the testimony from Agent Chase, I too find a violation of Rule 4.01A on August 26, 2021, and concur with the imposition of a $600 fine.
Thank you. Ms. Russell?
Like to exhibits for the record, Board Exhibit 1, investigation report, Inspector Chase. Board Exhibit 2, Baltimore State Police Department report, Detective Greenhill.
Okay. I think that concludes that case, Mr. Blendy.
Yes, Mr. Chair, it does. That concludes this matter before the board, and the licensee will receive a follow-up letter via U.S. mail with the board's findings of the violation and the fine imposed and any fees that go along with the intended fine imposed. And Mr. Chairman, that was the last matter on the docket today. Do you have any comments?
Let's read the adjournment.
Yes, sir. The board will be in recess until Thursday, November 18th, 2021, and the board shall post on its website, provide notice to applicants and or attorneys, and conduct a virtual hearing on that date. Please call our office at 410-396-4377 between 8:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. with any questions or concerns that you have on this matter or any other.
All right, thank you. So thanks to the commissioners and the staff of the Liquor Board, as always. Thanks to all those who participated today. And we will see everyone on November 18th. Have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.